Welcome back, movie lovers. I'm Josh.
And I am Chris.
And with our powers combined, we are
Garner Brothers Movie Lovers.
Today, we're talking Belfast, the biggest blockbuster of the year. Now, Belfast is a small movie about the true events that took place in Belfast, Ireland, between Protestant and Catholic churches, rivaling with one another and murdering each other.
In Ireland, it's what's known as the Troubles. Started in 1969 and continued on from there, I guess. I don't know a whole lot about it.
Me either. So let's talk cast and crew, Chris. I think we've naturally just come into this thing where I describe it and you go
and
through
I
the
mispronounce
cast.
all the names. Okay, so this movie stars Jude Hill as Buddy, and he's awesome.
Incredible.
We'll get more to him. So it also stars Katrina Balfe, Jamie Dornan, Judi Dench, and Ciarán Hinds, among others. But those are the main cast.
Yeah, those are the big hitters.
And it's written and directed by Kenneth Branagh, and by far the most personal film he has ever directed or written.
And in my opinion, the best.
Mine too.
But I've not seen all of his films.
Me neither. We're really good at this.
But this is the best one I've seen of his. There was a lot of emotions that came up while I was watching it, and I didn't necessarily know why all the time. But afterwards, thinking about it and wondering, what the message was, and it was a thought-provoking, powerful film. I really enjoyed it.
We should say that this film is semi-autobiographical. Apparently, Kenneth Branagh experienced a lot of this. It's set at the time when he was there, and it really comes through. It feels very authentic.
Very personal.
Yeah, incredibly personal. And just the story of this little boy on this little street who's just living life amidst some serious turmoil, both political and civil turmoil in the streets, but also turmoil between his parents because of their financial problems, turmoil with his grandparents, with their health. So there's a lot going on. But the whole movie is shown through his eyes, and it's really well done.
We should talk a little bit about Kenneth Branagh, and we don't always do this with directors or creators in the movies, but I feel it's kind of warranted here. This is
his movie.
He wrote it. He directed it.
It's
basically
about
him.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he's going to make a movie that means more to him than this.
No. I saw him say in an interview he's wanted to make this movie for decades and hasn't figured out how to do it until now. But he really figured it out.
It's moving in ways that most films aren't these days. So Kenneth Branagh, you know him. I knew him but didn't know that I knew him. So when we went into this movie, Chris leaned over as it was starting. He said, this is a Kenneth Branagh film. And I was like, yeah, I saw that. And I said, I don't know who that is. And he said, yes, you do. You know him as a very scary man. He is the bad guy in Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit with Chris Pine. He's the bad guy in Tenet.
He's also Hercule Poirot in Murder on the Orient Express. He's also Gilderoy Lockhart, totally hamming it up in the second Harry Potter film. And he's in all of his old Shakespeare movies, too. See, Kenneth Branagh's a director and an actor that I've known for a long time. I knew him back in his Hamlet days and Much Ado About Nothing. I really liked him since that time. He's always been on my radar. I really like his films. Lately, he's been doing tons of big budget stuff, starting with Thor for the MCU, the first Thor movie. He directed that. And I thought directed it really well. I don't think you see the Thor cast speaking Old English like they do in that movie in any others. Like
they've redone who Thor is supposed to be now.
Yeah.
But I think the original Thor movie has always been a little underappreciated. It was one of the better of the origin stories of the original.
I think it was, for sure. But he's gone from... he was very well known as the Shakespeare guy for a long time. And his Shakespearean adaptations are excellent. If you want a version of Shakespeare that's easy to understand and really well acted and well directed, his Shakespearean films are fantastic. So he was the Shakespeare guy for a long time. Lately, he's been this big budget guy. This movie is so different than anything he's done before. Just, it's way more real and important than any of those.
We recommend going to see this before we even review it. You should go see this movie.
If you can find it.
And it's a limited release film. It's not a huge blockbuster movie that's going to be in every theater. So you'll have to look it up. They will be playing it in cities around the country. You might have to make a little bit longer of a trip. We had to drive
Half an hour.
It's worth it. And it deserves an audience. And it's a beautiful film that you will not regret going to see. Now that we've oogled for a while, let's oogle some more.
Okay, let me tell you one of the things I love about this movie is the perspective of the film. It really is told, for the most part, through the eyes of this little boy named Buddy. There are scenes that take place that Buddy's asleep for or not there for, so it is showing you a wider, view than what he sees. But so much of the film is really through his eyes. And the first time that's really apparent is when this mob comes down his street with, makeshift bombs and bricks that they're throwing through windows and stuff. It wraps around him a couple of times and makes it very clear we are totally seeing this through his eyes. And there's many scenes in the film where he's looking up at his father from behind, or anytime he's having a conversation, it's showing the actor from his angle. There are lots of scenes where his idealized version of the world is what you are seeing as the audience. His mom and dad are drop-dead gorgeous superheroes. I mean, she runs out into the street and swoops him up at one point in the middle of this mob. His dad has a showdown with a bad guy in an alleyway. It's like a Western.
The Lone Ranger several times.
Yeah, so, and his grandparents are perfect. They go see movies and his family's all super into it like he would have been, but they probably wouldn't have acted like that. But that's how he's seeing the world, and so that's how we see the world as an audience. It's very effective. And a lot of the camera angles and the camera work, the lens choices, there's just a lot visually in this movie that I thought was, I thought nearly every scene felt very carefully crafted, very well shot. Cinematography was beautiful. Most of the film's in black and white. There are splashes of color every now and then, especially when he goes to the theater, because movies are magic to him.
At first it starts in color, and I think it's just showing kind of what Belfast and Ireland looks like now.
Yeah.
And then it goes back, and when it goes back, it becomes black and white. And initially I just thought that's because it's going back and, back before color was a thing.
The world really was in black and white in 1969.
But now I wonder, because of the way he used color during those scenes where he was at the play or he was at the movies, if the color means something more at the beginning and at the end of the movie. I don't know.
That's one of the fun things about this movie, is wondering about the choices that were made. We had an awesome conversation on the way back from the film. Just, it's fun to talk about after it's over. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of depth here, and it'll mean different things to different people.
Yeah. And you don't feel talked down to. He leaves a lot open to interpretation. He lets you experience the movie for yourself. He tells a beautiful story, but he doesn't really force it down your throat. The acting is
so good,
balls to the walls good in this movie. They are amazing. Everyone. I have to say, Katrina Balfe apparently was a model turned actress. She's the best model turned actress ever. She's incredible. She knocks it out of the park in this movie. And this kid, Jude Hill, good heavens.
This kid is special. He just feels so much like a real kid. I mean, he is a real kid, but his portrayal of this kid, it just feels so real. I mean, it feels so relatable. It feels so much like everybody's childhood. You're all going to see yourself in this kid. Judi Dench does a great
Oh
job.
my gosh. I didn't even know it was Judi Dench till you told me. She's playing...
She's nearly unrecognizable.
She's typecast as, this tough, hard-nosed...
super powerful woman.
Yeah. And in this movie, she's also a really lovable grandma.
Yeah. She's
a bit feisty.
Yeah.
But what grandma isn't a little bit feisty? They've earned it.
Really good moments with every character, really.
Jamie Dornan. It is so real. And
yeah.
Kudos to the actors and to the director for bringing that out in all of them. So we talked a bit about how it means something different for everybody. And I talked about how I got kind of emotional as I was watching it. And I didn't really always know why. So it takes place during Belfast. But in my mind, that's not what the movie's really about. It's just a tool used to tell this story about stages of our lives and family. And I feel like there's a heavy weight placed on the mother and the father in this movie. And any of you who are at that stage in your life now feel that weight. But it also shows some future perspective that we don't have right now. And it also shows a lot of perspective of a child that we forget sometimes. And I don't know if this is the case. It's probably not. But there was a specific, I think, focus on eyes of characters in certain scenes that was so vivid, it almost seemed like there was color in those moments, just in the eyes. And it may be that there was no color, but it was just so vivid that it seemed like there could have been. The eyes of the characters portrayed hope or lack of hope during different times of the movies. And you see hope in this child, in what is to come, amidst all this turmoil and trouble. And you see a void of hope in the eyes of the parents while they're trying to lift this weight. And then you have the grandparents who have been through all of this. And now they know what life is like. They've been through the hard times. They've lifted those weights. And they have incredible hope for their posterity, for their grandchildren, their children. And it just gives you this incredibly uplifting message of potential in all of our lives, even though we're all going to have to go through really hard moments.
It's really good. You should see this movie. There are so many movies that come out, and we love them. We love movies, and I love being entertained by movies that, you can turn your brain off for. But this one, it just felt so real, so authentic. Every relationship, every character, it just felt really, really well done. I totally agree. This movie, to me, is special, and you should try and find it and see it, for sure.
I guess there are some spoils.
Do you want to rate it first?
Yeah, okay, good point.
This is obvious.
This is good, great, fantastic fireworks all around. This is wonderful. It's probably going to be a Oscar-nominated, Academy Award-winning film.
It should be. It should be nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay,
actress, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor. It should win all of them.
It's really good. Really well done. That's my rating. It's very good. This is better than good. It's a very good film.
Yeah. And if it gets beat out by the weird Wolf People movie that's coming out, I'm going to be mad. Whatever that is.
Whatever that is. So, we're going to get into some spoiler territory.
It was really good. Go see this movie, everybody. Gosh dang it. That's all. But before we move on, if you want to see this movie and you don't want to hear the spoils, then you have to like this video. Okay, now we're going to spoil it. Pop dies in this movie.
Oh.
Very important moment of the movie. Probably the driver of hope in this movie is from the character Pop. He is instilling hope in Buddy throughout the movie. He's giving hope to the hopeless in the movie. Even amidst his own
terminal illness,
he is the one providing hope to everyone. And probably the coolest thing in this whole movie, knowing that it's about the director, is a moment where Pop is dying and he's laying on the hospital bed, and he has this really, we just keep saying powerful and moving, and I feel like we're just saying the same words and they're losing meaning. But they have this conversation between these three generations, the grandfather, the father, the son, and they are talking about how they're going to leave, and the grandfather's saying, you should go. And he says, England's only the first step. And he says that they need to go to the moon. And there's this kind of sub-story about the moon throughout it. It's during the space race, and the main character's doing a report at school on the moon landing. Meanwhile, every time you see him go to the movies, it's when you finally see color. And there's a really cool shot where Judi Dench's glasses are reflecting the color of the play that they're watching. And you'll see the play in color. And he says to reach for the stars. That, sure, you can escape this horrible situation you're in now and move to this better situation. Go from Belfast to London, and that will be good. But that's not it. Reach for the stars. You have potential to be great. And you see in the eyes of this boy as he's watching these movies, as he sees magic in these movies, and you know that it's about a man who grows up to become a director, an actor, a filmmaker, a storyteller, who fulfills that potential that was bestowed upon him from his grandfather. And it's so powerful and beautiful. And it just gives you hope. That's all I can say, I guess. This movie gives you hope. So,
as long as we're in spoiler territory, I thought that Granny Judi Dench's last moment in the film was also very moving. I mean, she's just lost her husband. Now her son and her grandchildren are moving away.
And she's going to be left.
And she's going to be there in Belfast
in
alone.
Belfast with all these horrible Protestants murdering monsters
stuff going on, but she wants them to go. Like, she loves her family, and she tells them to go. But when she closes the door to her house and puts her forehead up against the glass of the door, it's just such a. It's a moving moment. Like, there's no easy emotions in this movie. There's no scene where it's just easy to know how to feel. It's just a really well told story. It just feels very real, very rooted in how life is and what's important. And
that moment I was talking about with the eyes.
Yeah.
Judi Dench has her moment at the very end of the movie. And it's these moments where the camera is cropped in so close on the face. And the focus is on the eyes. There's other parts of the face there, but the focus is the eyes. And it happens to her in this moment. And it's a moment where she should be disparaging all of the circumstances around her. Her husband's dead, like you mentioned. Her son and her grandchildren are leaving, and she is left at her hometown, which is being burnt to the ground by crazy extremists. And then you see the hope in her eyes, and she looks right into the camera. She looks right at you, and she says, "Go. Don't look back." And then she says, "I love you, son." Then she turns around and she closes the door and she starts sobbing. It's like, just that hope, It's so powerful. It's so palpable. I found a word.
That's good. Well, yeah, great movie. Obviously, we were more moved by this movie than any movie we've seen in a long time.
thanks for watching, everybody. Do you have anything else? Do you have anything else you want to say?
Nope. Just be good people. That's what this movie makes me want to tell you.
Yeah. We can love people even if they're vegetarian antichrists.
There are a bunch of laugh out loud moments in this film.
This movie's emotional roller coaster is crazy because I found myself laughing a lot. It's not a comedy. It's not a comedy, but it is.
But it's so endearing. I mean, this kid is so funny. But kids are funny. I mean, like, that's how kids are. And so he's just being a kid. And the stuff he does is funny. And things people say are funny. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot of really, like, serious stuff. It's just a really well-made film.
So Kenneth Branagh became the guy that I knew I didn't know to one of my favorite film creators of all time. That's what this movie is. So go see it, dang it all, and let us know what you thought. Give this video a like if you would like.
And subscribe if you want to see what we have to say about other movies coming up that won't be as meaningful as this movie.
Yeah, we'll have some more lighthearted, fun ones. So click that notification bell so you can hear from us in the future, be notified when we post new videos. And in case we don't see you,
good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Okay.
Josh has moved.